Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Linda Malfasi. Did I say that right?
Pretty close.
Pretty close. She is the president of the Salgi Esophageal Cancer Research Foundation, and that is a mouthful, even more so than your name. But it's your first time on the show, so welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell us about the foundation, because I'm not sure if a lot of people are familiar with it. It cuts close to home with you, family, so talk about it a little bit.
Exactly. Well, I had lost my father to esophageal cancer about 15 years ago. And at the time, there was very little known about it. Many people didn't even know they had an esophagus. So my daughter and I got to talking, and we tried to look into different charities that possibly we could join and see if we can raise awareness and promote early, detection and fund research. However, many of the research and charities that we checked were not really doing too much with esophageal cancer, so we decided to go ahead and form our own. It's been difficult. It's been a struggle. The economy has not been favorable to us. But we did. We're forging ahead. We're all volunteering our services, and we have walks every year, and we're trying to raise our awareness. Our biggest goal is to fund research, and as of today, we've had to say no to about 8 research facilities that have asked us for funding because we just don't have it yet. So I appreciate this opportunity to come on and spread the awareness this way.
Let's get real basic for those who may not know. What is the esophagus? What is it for? Now, I know you're not a doctor.
I'm not a doctor.
But because you took an active interest in this, you certainly learned what it is and what it's for.
Absolutely. Well, the esophagus is connected to your throat, and it brings the food into your stomach. And it's just, until recently, it was not known that acid reflux, GERD, that type of thing could damage your esophagus and give you cancer. And they have discovered that. As a matter of fact, 15 years ago when my dad did have constant acid reflux and indigestion, it was just considered a normal process. Go ahead and just deal with it and take a Tums, whatever. But that's what it is. It's pretty much part of your digestive system, and again, not too many people are even aware they have that part.
Yeah, because depending on the food you eat, people get indigestion and acid reflux every day.
And that's the thing, yes. And if you have it more predominantly, you have GERD. So you have a condition where it's going to keep happening to you.
The thing about that is it sounds like it's very preventable by, one of the things you can do is change your diet so that situation doesn't occur in the first place, right?
Absolutely. Diet is probably the first and foremost thing you want to change. Whatever triggers your acid reflux, you want to change that. There are other factors involved: smoking, excessive drinking, obesity, lack of exercise, that type of thing. And that will cause an aggravated situation if you do have any of these conditions.
And obviously, not taking a handful of Tums is not the answer just to get rid of the indigestion or acid reflux.
Right. And the worst part is now people are starting to take the inhibitors, the Prilosec, the Prevacid, and that may quell your symptoms at the time, but it's not going to get rid of the damage that may be caused inside. And people have a false sense of security by taking these, thinking, I'm all set now.
Yeah, and those drug companies, they have to lay out the disclaimer in their ads, and while you're kind of concentrating on the good that it does to get rid of your acid reflux or whatever, you're kind of not paying attention to all the bad things that it can do to you too.
Exactly, and I was living that way myself. I also had acid reflux. I was taking a daily Prilosec, and I thought I was all set. And the more we researched into esophageal cancer, the more frightened I became. And I actually went through an endoscopy to make sure there was no damage. And there was some damage, not precancerous, thankfully. There is also another condition called Barrett's esophagus. And it's where the acid from the stomach actually changes the lining of the esophagus. And you might be a bit more prone to developing cancer in the future from having Barrett's. The only way you can discover either of these is with an endoscopy.
Well, it's amazing that just is it the acidic foods that you may eat that we do every day could be causing so much damage. We know about things like clogging your arteries and all the other bad things, but the more that we advance in science and medical technology, the more bad things we discover too.
Exactly. It all starts with diet and exercise, I believe. That's my opinion. But again, there are also situations where people may be getting damage and they're not even aware of it. It was our hope that we can mandate endoscopies as colonoscopies are mandated, and mammograms at a certain age. I would love to see at a certain point that endoscopies are covered by insurance, no questions asked, everybody goes through one.
And what the world, or what this country is going through with insurance right now, you'd certainly want that. Is that a tough thing? The insurance company's not covering it at this point?
Yeah.
Because it's not mandatory kind of a thing?
Exactly. And that's really a daunting task to try to find out where we're going to start this and where we're going to get the politicians behind us and the medical society. It's very daunting right now.
There has to be an urgency about it in order for people to act, right?
You're right. And that's the sad part, because you may say, well, esophageal cancer, it doesn't kill that many people every year, even though the survival rate is very low, because by the time you have your symptoms, trouble swallowing and
you're in an advanced stage.
Exactly,
right?
And that's the problem. So you really don't survive when you're in stage 4. The survival rate is very low.
That's the tough part. It's one of those diseases where you could be going along just fine. At least if you had symptoms or you felt that something was wrong, that's when people go to the doctor.
Exactly, and that's our fear, is you're not going to go to the doctor until it's too late. Chronic cough could be an acid reflux issue. Trouble swallowing usually is pretty much when it's advanced, and that's what my dad had at the end. He had trouble swallowing, he went for a scope, and that's when they found it.
Did he was he a smoker or a drinker or anything like that?
He was a smoker early on. He had quit, not that active.
Yeah.
Might have had a little bit of a weight problem. And Italian food is very acidic. We have tomatoes and we have things like
Lots
that.
of carbs in it too.
Exactly.
So, it's
but like I said, they never thought acid reflux or indigestion was a big deal. It's just treat it. As soon as you don't have symptoms, you're fine. That's not always the case.
The good part about, and we've mentioned this, is it's preventable, and you can actually, I guess, reverse the process in a way if you start living a different lifestyle.
That's true.
A healthier lifestyle.
That's true. And we do try to encourage that first and foremost. That's the most important thing for your whole life.
Yeah.
It's not just for this. But I also want to make sure that people are aware that it's out there. This cancer is pretty lethal right now. It may change if we can get endoscopies, mandated. If it's part of your regular exam, say at 40 years old, you have to have it, like a colonoscopy at 50. That would be the best scenario for us, because it would be caught early in a stage where possibly it could be treated.
You know what? When people do get behind a cause, man, you think about breast cancer. There's a month dedicated to it. Even the NFL is all pinked out. People, it's massive. So when people get behind something, they can actually affect it.
And I hope that's true. I mean, as I said, we're slow starting. It's just a grassroots type of thing. But I'd like to get back to it, because major cancer foundations, charities, you may donate money, you may ask them to direct it towards a certain way. It's still up to them where they want to focus their
And doesn't it go
efforts.
into sort of like more of a general fund
It
kind of a
does.
thing, and then it gets divvied out?
It does. And that's why, definitely I appreciated this opportunity to let everyone know any dollar sent to us, the majority is going straight to research, because that's our primary goal.
So let's back up and not to get too personal, but the family, it hit you emotionally and personally, and your family as well. And that's when, how did the process come into being where you decided to start a foundation?
Okay.
First, you had to deal with your husband and everything that was going on there, grieving period and all that. But take us through.
Yeah, well, it was traumatic with my father. We did learn a lot once he passed. Again, we didn't know what an esophagus was. 15 years went by, and as we kept trying to check to see if there were any advances, if there was anything being learned about it, we found very little was being done.
And this was after he had already passed,
After
right?
he had already passed, 15 years after. And he had passed on Father's Day. That was very tough.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was not fun. But when my daughter and I looked into things, we found things really weren't being run the way we wanted them to. In the sense, we would have joined another charity, worked for them, fundraise for them.
As long as it had something to do with
Right.
with what your father had gone through.
Exactly. And my big push is the research. I am an optimist, and I believe that we can fund research. They're going to find different ways to deal with it, different ways to treat it, even maybe in a stage 4. They might be able to get something else out there. Pancreatic cancer is the same thing. You don't know you have it until the end.
Yeah.
So hopefully those headlines will change. And it was a personal thing. We just want to see things change. I don't want my father's death to be in vain.
As you were tracking the research, and you were certainly, vested in it because of a personal thing, you just weren't seeing enough being done with that particular cancer research. You probably saw
Right.
cancer research, but that aspect of it, there just wasn't much there going on.
Not much going
You didn't
on
see
at
much
all.
advancement at all.
Not at all. And obviously, not that many people are afflicted with it, so not that many people care right now.
Good point, yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So, you know, breast cancer, thankfully, there's a ton being done with it, and that's wonderful, and we hope that continues. And same with colorectal cancer. But
The problem is you treat different cancers in very different ways.
exactly.
Right?
And you really have to learn about it. You have to find out what makes it work and what affects it. And we won't be getting that done until we can get that research out there.
So how did you decide to start a foundation, and how do you go about starting a foundation?
Excellent question. If it weren't for my daughter, we would not have a foundation. And I stupidly entered it, thankfully, because if I knew the work it entailed, I think I would have gone running. But my daughter actually got us into the nonprofit category. She filed all the paperwork. Everything we've done has been free of charge. We've funded it ourselves up until now.
By the way, she's the vice president. of
She's
this
the
fund.
vice president. She's the backbone of this whole charity. If it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have one.
And she's far more knowledgeable about social media,
Oh,
too, you
God
said.
bless her. Yeah, she is fantastic on social media, and I'm too old to know too much about it, but she's right there. And we've had 2 walks so far. We're trying to get our name out there. We've done some advertising and promotions. Anything we can do for free,
Right.
we really enjoy that. Because it does,
PSAs.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
Walks are huge. All the big major nonprofit, your American Heart Associations, cancer societies,
Right.
autism, all of them, they all do walks, and they're great for. One of the best forms of advertisement, of course, is word of mouth, getting the word out there. Forming teams, going out, walking at the right time of
Right,
year, raising
right.
money, raising awareness, and also getting people who may not be able to physically walk, if they can be involved in some way, or people who don't want to walk but maybe volunteer for the cause,
Absolutely.
or people who would just want to make some sort of financial donation. All that stuff works.
oh, absolutely, and that's our lifeline. If we don't have that, we have nothing. We rely practically 100% on donations. I mean, there's no government funding, there's nothing like
No
that.
grants or anything like that.
Nothing. I check, but I can't
Yeah.
find any right now.
How about some like corporate help in any way?
We've tried.
Yeah.
Right now, again, we're new.
Yeah.
And we're not that, I hate to say popular, but we're not that popular. And we've been getting a lot more no's than yeses. We've had some wonderful companies out there that have, given us a donation, and we truly appreciate that. We would be flat out if they weren't assisting us right now. But hopefully, as the word gets out, we might be getting more support.
And you mentioned this at the beginning of the show, in these tough economic times, that doesn't make the situation any easier. Although I have discovered that people are still willing to dig into their pockets and their purses and just give what they can in some way, right?
They do. They do. I think when the times are tough and people may lose a job, obviously charitable giving has to be cut. I mean, that's the first thing
usually
to go.
low on the
exactly.
list of priorities.
But hopefully with the economy picking up, we might see a pickup as well in donations and things like that, hopefully.
You haven't noticed it yet, though, per se?
Not yet. Not yet. So, and I said, the main thing we're trying to do is get our name out there, let people know what we're behind, raising awareness, and promoting early detection is huge, but the funding of research is the biggest thing.
I want to get back to the foundation, because I think you were kind of describing that it was certainly more of a daunting task than you had realized. Talk about some of the things you learned.
Oh, my goodness.
Maybe some things, what to do and what not to do.
What I learned is don't start a charity. It was so
tough,
difficult,
yeah.
so difficult, and we had
Why
no
is it
clue.
tough, though?
A lot of loopholes, a lot of paperwork, a lot of
Red
rules you
tape.
have to file, and as I said, blissfully, my daughter is very intelligent, and she just swung us right through all that. It's a 24-hour job. I work full-time. My daughter, we are all employed full-time. We volunteer our services. We come home at night and it keeps going. We're going to talk about this. What else can we do? We're thinking of a shirt design that we might be able to, sell on our own.
This is the board meeting that you have,
Exactly,
right?
and
With
it's
the
pretty
family.
much over the kitchen table. But, but again, we're saving funds that way. So.
You mentioned that the foundation kind of exists out of an office in your house,
It does,
basically, right?
it does, and we have no overhead. That's
Yeah.
why I say now is the time to donate.
Right.
We're gonna every dollar we get, the majority of it's going to go to a good cause.
But once the foundation got up and running, talk about how things started to sort of take off a little bit. I know you're still new and everything,
Yes.
but it's smoother now than it was in the beginning.
It was smoother. I was very naive in the beginning. beginning. I truly thought that once people realized how dangerous esophageal cancer was and
They'd
how
kind of jump on board?
I thought they would. I mean, it's had a 400% increase in the past 20 years of cases coming up.
Wouldn't you agree, though, that, and this is true, if it doesn't happen to you, it doesn't hit you emotionally, and you just don't,
Yes.
it's not that you don't care, it's just that you don't have a reaction to it.
They don't,
you
right,
know?
exactly. And they understand the bigger ones, and that happens more
Yeah.
prevalently. But that is true, and that I think is part of our difficulty. I think people want to see that we are here, we're not giving up, we're going to keep working on it, and hopefully by that point they might trust us a little bit more, and we're not giving up, we're going to keep going.
Look at that, it's an honest face, but
We're going to keep going, definitely.
And you, at this point, how do you see the research and medical aspect of it advance? Do you see a light at the end of the tunnel? I know you're hopeful, but
I
I want to talk about the
optimistic.
actual research, the science behind it.
Yeah, my hope is that if we can, fund enough out-of-the-box research, not what we've been doing now. What we're doing now is covering up the symptoms with the pills. Or, yes, endoscopies are fantastic, and they do sometimes catch cancer in an early stage where it could be cured or, manageable.
Is that really all there is now?
That's all there
As
is
far as
right
treatment?
now. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Endoscopy and the pill. But we don't know of any causes we just know risk factors, which I had said before, being overweight and alcohol and smoking and that type
Is
of
it a
thing.
hereditary thing too? I mean, are most cancers, is there a hereditary
Well,
aspect to it, or?
They're on the cusp of saying it could be. And again, that's where my fear came in. I was having the same kind of acid reflux, GERD problems that my
But
dad
you were eating the
was.
same food though too, right?
I am eating the
Yeah.
same food. My lifestyle's a little bit different. I don't smoke and I don't really drink that much, but I was pretty worried going into that endoscopy.
Did it change your lifestyle after that? I mean, was it a jolting change in your life as far as health aspects?
I'd like to tell you that I work out every
Right.
day, but I'd be lying. So
You drive by the gym, you just don't pull into the gym.
every single day.
Yeah.
But no, I do. I try to live a lot more healthier now. I'm trying to cut out junk food. I'm trying not to eat certain things at night so it doesn't bother me as I'm sleeping.
And it has such a domino effect because there are so many other things that you could be afflicted with, not just what we're talking about today. But on the flip side, stay healthy. I mean, that stays off
Absolutely.
everything, diabetes,
Absolutely.
all the other things.
Oh, that's the
and some of these
truth.
things are there's such a domino effect that affects everything else in the
And
body.
that's the truth. And you don't realize it, but as you live unhealthily, you're going to start finding out that things are not going right. So, and this is another thing that could be helped with that.
As the foundation continues on, obviously things are a little bit smoother. Like you said, it's still new and you're still looking for as
Right.
much help financially. Are you looking for anything along the lines of volunteer help or anything like that?
We
or?
mostly need volunteer when we have an event. Our
Okay.
walks, or if we have a fundraiser somewhere, we do need a lot of volunteer help. We've been blessed with wonderful friends that certain few have come out, offered us their talent, given us a lot of assistance morally, physically. They've been great. And yes, as I'm hoping as we get bigger, we'll need more and more because we need to speed up what we want to do. November 21st will be 3 years that we're in existence. I'd like to have seen us a little bit further along at this point, but it should come.
Talk about some of the walks that you've already done, the events themselves and the turnout and
Yeah.
money raised and stuff like that.
We were very encouraged with the walks. I said the walks kept us going because we had people come there telling us their story, who they lost, who's recovered from it. There was a gentleman, he was wonderful at our first walk. And he walked it. It was 3 miles. It was at Warwick City Park. And I asked him if he was going to come the next year, and he said he would. His wife and daughter came in and said he had succumbed to cancer.
Oh, boy.
But that was the last time he walked 3 miles, and they remember that as one of their fondest family moments. Reasons that I stay in this charity is precisely that.
And they participated,
They
right?
participated. They're spreading the word on their behalf. We do rely on a lot of people that they keep us going, but we keep them going too. We're going to have to keep it going until everybody knows about this and everybody can take part in it.
And a lot of, obviously, the walk brings together those who are affected similarly, whether
Yes.
it's they themselves or maybe
Or
someone
a family
close.
member,
Yeah.
yes. And we've also had people who have suffered other types of cancer. They just want to support us, knowing that not many people know about it, and if they could save a life by coming and supporting us, that's fantastic. Somebody might hear something and say, I've got to check this out.
And do you have, the next thing is probably this spring, maybe another walk coming up
We
in the
have
spring?
another walk coming up in June. We usually do it around Father's Day since I did lose my dad around that time. And we do start advertising, and it's a wonderful walk, I have to admit.
And by the way, we're knocking on wood because so far the weather has cooperated.
The weather's been wonderful.
Right.
And local businesses have been phenomenal. We've had pizza donated.
Good.
This year we're getting lemonade donated. If we didn't have that, we wouldn't be able to pull this off. And everyone has said we've had the best walks, if I don't mind saying so
Oh, that's
myself.
great. Earlier I was asking about corporate help. It may not necessarily be in the form of just flat out financial help, but these things too.
Yes.
Local people donating
Yes.
pizza or, just beverages, anything to help along the way.
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of people have. Jerry's Market's been there for us every year, Randolph Bank. Wonderful people.
Well, let me ask you this. Since you've done a few walks now, what is it that you would be in need of that you think would be a good idea if you want to get the word out to some potential businesses?
Right.
Or
Well, we need more sponsors.
More
We need a lot more sponsors. So far, the things that we have donated are very generous, and we're good with that. Maybe a couple of volunteers would help, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Really, and in any way, whether it's just,
Anything at all.
registering people.
Absolutely. Helping
signing
with the
them in.
T-shirts and anything like that.
Let's talk about the website. What is the website, first of all?
It's salgi.org.
Okay,
www.
and what's on it for people to go and see and learn?
We have everything. We have blogs, we have our events, we have statistics, we have many things going on that you can go to. Obviously, there's a donate page, but we always keep that fresh. We always keep it constant. And from there, you could also see our Twitter account and our Pinterest and everything else that we're hooked up to.
And social media is so important in this
It
day and
is.
age. A website, I would argue that your Facebook page could be more important because it's more interactive. People are responding, they're posting, they're adding
They are.
comments, they're clicking likes. Website is important for the basic information, but it's static. Social media is where you really get the word spread.
Exactly. We've had people from California contact us, thanking us for this. A gentleman had passed away in the Midwest, and in lieu of flowers, they donated to us. And that touched me as well, because I said, this is great. People are finding out about us, and they're learning, and we're doing what we're supposed to do.
What don't they know yet? Like, what misconceptions are there? What people should know or don't know?
Well, they don't think it's a big deal right now in the sense that there aren't that many people dying from it, as you would perhaps with breast cancer. However, with the epidemic of obesity and situations that we're learning every day, I think it might become more prevalent, and that frightens me. I don't want it to get to an epidemic stage. I don't want half the population to have issues with this. I'd like to see research developed now that might be able to assist us for the near future.
And let's hope that that's the case. And
hope so.
and again, I asked you this question before. You have hope. You see a light at the end of the tunnel, right?
I do. I have to have hope, because if not, we can't do this every day.
Yeah. But just another opportunity for you to kind of get the word out, and hopefully people will go to the website, learn more. I'm sure if they have questions, they can probably
absolutely.
email you,
Anytime
call,
at
anything.
all. Any venue at all. We will accept and answer any questions.
All right. Any last words you want to say to the people out there?
Just help. We need as
One-
much help as we can.
One simple word, help. We'll put the website up on the graphic of the website up on the screen one more time. Linda Mulfacey? Mulfacey, there you go. The Salgi Esophageal Cancer Research Foundation. Pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for having
Hope
me.
we could help you out a little bit there.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. You can see this show and many others on our YouTube site. Till next time, take care.